And nice. So here we go. This is the one that started everything for us way back. I can't remember. It's been over a year and a half probably at this point. Where we wanted to try to find a way to reduce the amount of prep time we were doing. We still need to do prep. We still need to look at and review things, and we need to apply the human element because there's things that we just can't express yet, or maybe we won't ever be able to express to the computer. Algorithms learn, certainly through AI and whatnot, but you have to be able to give them information, goalposts, guiding factors to guide them into what and how things progress. And so, to this end, kind of where it all comes together is we've put all of these pieces together to help us build the confluence case. We track the pivots, the moving averages, all of these different things that you can see on the screen here to capture and set up what we have called the build and track confluence algorithm. So I have here up on the screen ES. It was, let's just confirm our recollection here. So ES is using its instrument setting, so it's on an ETH perspective. We're showing global draw objects. We have our pivots on, our cheat codes. That is good enough for right now. So let's do one more thing here. Let's come into this one and let's change it to also be ES. This will work on any instrument. I'm just picking the futures as an example here. And instead of it being on real-time hours, I want this to be on CME US Index Futures ETH. I could have picked use instrument settings. I just want to be specific because I'm anal retentive. So for the indicator, this is again the big one that puts all of those pieces together and tries to help automate that stuff there. So that one is called Build and Track Confluence, and there is a lot of things in here. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this one. So first of all, could you put this in Market Analyzer? Yes, absolutely. If you want to do that, let's have a separate conversation. That's not what this one is about. But you could put this in Market Analyzer. You cannot draw zones if you're in Market Analyzer. You cannot draw zones globally if you're in Market Analyzer, or VWAPs globally. Or compute and draw them, but you can compute them. So this top section is all about, do you draw the stuff? In this case, we are working on a chart. So I do want to draw the zones on the chart. I want to draw them globally. I want to see these zones, prep zones that are created, shown on every ES chart that I have, where I am showing global drawing objects. I do want to compute. Actually, no, for the case of ES, I don't want to. I already have Dave's beautiful mapped supply and demand zones here as he's shown us. The algorithm that I have that I showed before would certainly map these out and do a good job of capturing them, but I really trust and like these. So I don't need to compute and draw these for this instrument. There is an alert system built in. So if you're coming into one of these predefined zones, you don't have to sit there and watch the screen. If you have this up on a daily chart, which is a key point, this needs to be loaded on a daily chart. Not an intraday, not a 5-minute, not a 30-minute. You need to put this on a daily chart for us to track all of these wonderful specifics. So as you come into that chart, it will play a sound. You can pick from what you want it to play. It preps and saves all of this information from this directory. That is also the directory it uses to load the cheat code configurations if you use those. And then next up on the list here, in this kind of include comp or confluence elements, you can say, hey, I want to turn on or turn off ADRs. What are the photo full ADRs? What are the extremes? Do I load and track my cheat codes? How about my EMAs? Do I care about the 20, 50, 200 EMA? Do I care about daily structure? How about the drawings on the chart? I absolutely want to pay attention to and track the drawings and gap fills. Intraday structure. Do I have lots of things that are bumping up on a 30-minute time frame perspective and giving me some good kind of intraday clues from an intraday perspective? What trading hours do I want to use? So in this case, for futures, I want to use U.S. equities real-time hours. Do I care about prior swing high, swing lows, symmetrical extremes, surf? I don't care about. You could put it in there, including your prep. I have found that it's not really relevant in terms of the prep. VWAP Boulevard is a nice concept. I would suggest, if you aren't familiar with it, go Google it, see what All Day Faders has talked about it with in the past. It is not useful for most of the things that we do, looking at kind of trading breadth and the futures and whatnot. It is very useful if you're looking at things in the Momo world, and this thing is a piece of shit stock that is traded up massively and kind of left the equivalent of an NVPOC or VWAP Boulevard laying around from months, years ago, etc. So anyways, you can turn on and turn off these various pieces and they will be included. It is important to note with these that the algorithm is constantly running, so it's constantly watching price and where things are at. And so while you may have prepped and run all of this, ideally by having restarted Ninja before the trading day begins, once the day begins, it'll track and update these things. That's why it's called build and track. So as price starts moving, as the initial balance gets set, as we spike up, we will draw and update the zones based upon new evidence that is collected as the day progresses on these proceeds from extreme ADRs, or where the initial balance gets set, or the overnight pieces get set, which are actually the overnight stuff is included as part of just the regular intraday IB. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. You want it to run on price change, and that way, as events come in and happen during the day, it will update and progress as you move along there. So that's an important part. So I would leave these other things, this miscellaneous stuff, alone. You could play with it if you want. Yeah, I would just leave that stuff off. The print debug will show in your console output that it finished and it ran. In this case, I'm just going to say OK. It is going to gather, capture, collect all of the wonderful information going across many months, looking at and aggregating the stuff from pivots that we talked about. How long have we been in a weekly trend guide or trend guide reversal? How long have we been in a monthly trend guide or trend guide reversal? So it's going back and looking at a lot of different information to build out and capture those VWAPs, to go out and capture the pivot trend information, the intraday structure, etc. Unfortunately, this is reliant upon our kinetic connection. So if kinetic is acting very slow at the moment, which it is right now for us, we're kind of beholden to where and how it operates. This is also a key reason to why you should definitely close and restart Ninja on a nightly basis, because it will take longer as the day and stuff progresses. So as you can see, as I'll pull up here on the screen real quick, this took a lot longer because I've been up and running for several hours. I ran my full confluence algorithm stuff earlier today, and I've been doing lots of refreshes as we walk through and run things. So it took longer this time for kinetic to load up all the different stuff. It took about a minute, which is really not cool, not usual, but that's why we always do a restart between our runs. In any event, all this stuff is now mapped and drawn. I have all of my zones prepped for tomorrow, and I can come back to my intraday chart and see where all this stuff is. This right here is a great example of a royal flush zone. So I know this is a royal flush zone because it is highlighted, the border is dashed lines on it for me. And the dashed line is a visual indication clue that it is a royal flush zone. So I know that because that's how I've configured it. You guys will hopefully come to learn that over time if you use the build and track. But it should be a good clue for you. It's aggregated stuff to tell you and rolled out these zones. Annual pivot, weekly trend guide, reversal 1. The tier 3 cheat for the day. So that'd be a massive move up to 40, 50, but it's not unusual. We've had 70, 80 point days here recently. And in fact, it's the full other than outlying. It's also supply and demand high. So, up to you. Like you could actually probably even say, take this zone here. If I could click on the right part of it, and say, you know what? If we come up here, I'm actually going to look at it to be like that. I would probably be watching price action if this is coming in here, and be getting super interested at weekly trend guide reversal 1 just from looking left. I mean, that supply and demand zone has been pretty important in the past as we've mapped it out. I wouldn't mind it hitting end monthly trend guide reversal 1, but I also have to be cognizant of the fact that I don't want to be a dick for a tick and lose a massive one. In any event, the other zones are mapped out for us as well. We always map trend strength reversal, TSRP, as our trend strength reference point, I'm sorry, is orange. Mostly maps it all the time if it's got enough information in there. And really, it's just trying to find enough pieces of evidence or of a high enough score, and that is an important aspect to understand here. These zones are being mapped by looking at all of these pieces of confluence and aggregating them together and scoring them based upon the evidence that is presented. You can think of these, and the first one I mentioned was called Royal Flush. It is trying to build and reference all of these in a scoring methodology to highlight for us what are the best ones. You've seen many times where I map out and show these in the room here. Let me pull back up my example from earlier. I map out and try to capture all of these as to what are the extremes for the day. Because if I know where the upper edge of some massive boundary is, like, that's amazing, that's awesome. Now I know to get myself ready for some area. And so let me open this up here. So all of this scoring model stuff, it goes through and it looks at 500 plus things, and I am looking and mapping out kind of where all this stuff fits, right? So NVIDIA, as part of our breadth tomorrow, has the massive zone with annual pivot, quarterly trend guide, weekly trend guide reversal 2, an automated supply and demand that's been hit 18 times. It's had 18 interactions with this price level at about 188. And it's got a cheat tier 2 for the day. And so just moving down the line, right? So this is mapping and scoring out everything and giving you a sense of what are the zones to pay attention to. Is it perfect? Not yet. May not ever get there. Getting to the... well, with quantum computers, we could get to a lot of this stuff much faster these days. But anyway, I digress, and this is getting into a lengthy one. So, hopefully you find the build and track. That is part of what started us down this journey a long time ago. It's part of what we've been posting with some of the stuff in this room in particular, and talking about in some other rooms is... Let's cut through the noise. Let's find the shit that's going to be at the right zone. Let's wait for the area with lots of evidence that other people just may not have in their charts. Maybe they just have daily pivots, but they don't understand or are aware of things like IB stats and where this stuff is coming to. And you just can't keep track of every single little piece. So that's where the algorithm is trying to pull up and map and track all this stuff down for us to show where are the key confluence zones to pay attention to and be watching for the day. So we will wrap that one there. Hopefully these have all been helpful and informative and are useful to folks. Again, this is the build and track confluence one. It needs to run on a daily chart, folks. Put it there. It will pay attention to things like your drawings and all the other various things, including VWAPs, and alerts you throughout the day as things progress. So thank you very much. Have a great one, and we will see you all later. Bye now.